Senator Guingona, it's your turn for your questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before I ask a question, just an administrative matter, Madam Chair. General Napenas, last hearing I asked that you submit, and you said you would submit a coordination matrix of the operations. I have checked with the COMSEC, and there has been no submission, sir.
I did submit during the executive session, Your Honor. I did submit. In fact,
During the executive session, is that the same?
Sorry, did you submit the matrix or just a copy of your text messages?
It's the coordination table matrix, Your Honor. In fact, it was photocopied and the copy was returned to me during the executive session, Your Honor.
Okay, we will take your word for it and we will check also our files. But
Well, it seems there's been confusion because, as you can see from our faces, everybody's looking at each other. Anyway, maybe the COMSEC can shed light. Ito yung sinasabing synchronization matrix. Yun ba yun?
That's different, Your Honor. That's different.
sir, do you have a copy with you now so we can
Yes, Your
cross-check
Honor.
with
I
what
will
we
give a
have?
copy now.
So I have this document called the Task Coordination Table. Ito po.
Yes, sir, Your Honor.
Okay. So, ang nakalagay dito, several entities, ano? Pero ang hinahanap ko, wala rin naman nakalagay time on target dito.
Your Honor, if you could just read at the last column.
TOT.
Yes,
Yes,
Your
that's
Honor.
time on target.
Yes, Your Honor.
But I noticed that the Secretary of DILG is not in the list.
Yes, Your Honor, because that covers only the operating units in the ground.
So, as far as the DILG Secretary and General Espina, walang document that says TOT.
It's not in the task coordination table, Your Honor.
Where is it found then?
That is supposed to be, it's a higher authority, and I can no longer make the coordination on higher authority as far as I'm concerned, because it's higher. It should be the one who approved the operations, or the higher officer on me who will be doing that one. Otherwise, I will be bypassing their authority, Your Honor.
So you're saying the one who should have done it was a higher authority than you.
Yes, Your Honor.
So in this case, in this particular case, who is the higher authority?
During this operation, Your Honor, it should be General Purisima, because that was then his statement when we left yung sa bahay pangarap during January 9.
So General, I'm supposed to make the coordination. Am I correct?
No, Your Honor. What I volunteered to do was to inform, not to coordinate.
Okay, we have a situation now where General Napenas says it should be you, and now you're the one saying that it's not you. Am I correct? Is that what you're saying?
Your Honor, information is different from coordination. So what I volunteered to do, Your Honor, is to inform General Katapang.
No, I'm not talking about General Katapang. I'm talking about time on target coordination with the Secretary of the local governments and the PNP chief.
That is also included, Your Honor.
Yes, but General Napenas is saying it's your responsibility to do the coordination. You just heard him.
Your Honor, if you will remember, sir, I am suspended during those times, Your Honor. And the authority was already delegated to the ground commander since April of that year, Your Honor, that we had been operating against Marwan.
So, okay, since you're saying because you're suspended, it's not you. In this case then, ano mangyayari? Who should have done it? General Purisima, who should have done it then?
I suppose, sir, the ground commander should have done it, because being the delegated authority, Your Honor.
But he did not do it because he's saying that it's the higher authority that should do it. So, we have here a situation na nagtuturoan, at what is clear is there was no coordination, even on time on target, with the Secretary and the Chief PNP.
Your Honor, the What I volunteered to do is to inform General Katapang, and what I have said is, wag muna sabihin sa dalawa, time on target, was the meaning of that statement, Your Honor.
Well, at any rate, let's not debate anymore. I think klaro nangyari. It's crystal clear to everyone what happened, no? Yes, the Senate President.
If you don't mind. General Napenas, ilang beses po, noong January 25 po ba, nung nagbabakbakan, nakikipag-usap ka kay General Purisima?
We have exchanges of text messages, Your Honor, then may mga pag-uusap din kami by phone.
May pag-uusap kayo by
as
phone?
As far as I can remember, pero most of the time, Your Honor, is done through exchanges of text
At
messages.
doon, binibigyan ka niya ng advice?
Hindi po advice yung mga information po, Your Honor, regarding yung movement ng CCH, yung IMT, plus may mga bagay pa sa nakikita natin doon sa text messages exchange namin.
O, ano yung pinag-usapan niyo dahil sinasabi mo hindi advice?
Meron siyang ipino-forward na text messages sa akin.
Hindi yung usapan niyo, hindi yung text.
Yung tungkol po doon sa, Your Honor, yung sa umagang-umaga pa lang na nasabihan ko na si General Espina, baka magulat ka. Yung tungkol sa
Ano ang sagot ni General Purisima?
Yes, sir. Sabi ko, nasabihan ko na, sir, si General Espina through text message yung sa umagang-umaga na yung operation.
Ang sinasabi mo, dahil ang higher authority, sa tinatanong ko ngayon ni Senator Guingona, ang higher authority si Purisima.
Yes, Your Honor, at that time, although sinabihan ko rin si General Espina, halos sabay yung text message ko sa kanila, informing them about the operation
So,
in
nagre-report
Mamasapano.
ka kay General Purisima?
Nagre-render ako ng report sa kanya, Your Honor, kasi because of that time na nung dinidiscuss yung operation nung January 9 doon sa taas, ay kasama po siya doon, Your Honor.
Iyon ba ang feeling mo sinasabi ni General Purisima? It was delegated to the ground commander. Kayo ang ground commander. Did you feel that you could decide on everything as ground commander?
Your Honor, may limitation po sa aking sarili yung pagko-coordinate sa higher authority.
Yun lang.
Yun po ang aking, Your Honor.
Sige, so all those time, ini-inform mo rin si Purisima kung anong nangyayari.
Yes, Your Honor.
At sa kabilang dako, ina-advise ka niya kung anong gagawin.
Parang ganun nga po, Your Honor. Nagbibigay din siya ng information sa akin tungkol yung ginagawa niya, yung pagtulong. Yung text message ni General Guerrero, ipino-forward din niya sa akin, Your Honor.
Kung nakakatanggap pa ng advice sa higher authority, yun ba'y tinuturing mo ring order?
Sa police po at military, Your Honor, kung nakakataas yung nagbibigay ng salita, ay naiiba po yun. Kung nanggaling sa baba, na paakyat,
Hindi,
sa
yung
aking-
galing sa taas, pababa, alam na yun, order na yun, di ba? Sa police at military.
ay, ganun nga po yun, Your Honor, sa aking pananaw. Kung pababa, galing sa baba, paakyat,
Hindi,
yun ang
galing sa
advice
taas,
and
galing sa
recommendation.
taas, pababa, yun order na yun. Hindi po ba?
Ganun na nga yun, Your Honor, siguro.
Thank you, Senator Dulon. Senator Guingona, you may proceed, sir.
Yes, okay. To move on another matter. Secretary de Lima, ma'am, good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Am I correct that you have advanced the idea that the PNP, being a civilian organization, is not subject to the concept of chain of command?
My view, Your Honor, is that the term chain of command in its strictest terms, in its strictest sense, is of military construct. Therefore, since PNP is not a military organization, it's now a civilian organization, part of the executive branch of government under the president, not as a commander-in-chief, but chief executive. It does not apply to the PNP strictly.
Thank you, ma'am. But how would you then? How would you then reconcile with this Executive Order 226, February 17, 1995, and I quote, institutionalization of the doctrine of command responsibility in all government offices, particularly at all levels of command in the Philippine National Police and other law enforcement agencies. In one paragraph of the executive order, it says, whereas, in order to ensure a more effective, sustained, and successful campaign against erring government personnel, it is imperative that the doctrine of command responsibility, unquote, be institutionalized and strictly applied in all government offices and at all levels of command in the PNP, Philippine National Police, and other law enforcement agencies. This was signed by then President Fidel Ramos.
I'm not sure, Your Honor, if I have come across that executive order, but as you quoted that particular provision, it speaks of levels of command, and then it speaks of command responsibility, or more appropriately, in the broadest terms, it's supposed to be superior responsibility, because superior responsibility would apply even to civilian organizations like the PNP or even executive departments of government. Now, so superior responsibility is the more acceptable term now if we are to apply it broadly, because command responsibility would really just apply to military organizations or military concepts. So I feel that I'm not going against that particular directive in that executive order when I maintain that position, that when we talk about chain of command, this is really just strictly for the military, but nothing also in the Constitution or the law. I think I made that response to one of the questions of Senator Miriam, that nothing in the Constitution or the law disallows the adoption of a similar arrangement or similar setup, especially when it comes to operations, because certainly whether it's the AFP or the PNP, there are commanders on the ground, and therefore if something happens, we know from whom accountability can be exacted. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Although that is your view, I think it's really pretty clear that this executive order institutionalizes the doctrine of command responsibility within the PNP. But here, it's not the time to debate now. I would just like to request if you could please take a look at the second look at this executive order and see how we can reconcile everything.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm sure that can be reconciled.
Thank you very much. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Guingona. Senator Sotto, you may proceed, sir, with your interjections and questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to tie up loose ends in as much as I know the committee would like to terminate the agony of the committee and prepare a committee report. So may I start by asking the Department of Foreign Affairs, in as much as the chair, Senator Poe, has invited them already. I want to ask them about the rumors and the reports and the newspaper accounts and newspaper reports about the U.S. involvement. My question is, so what? Bawal po ba yun? What's the big fuss about the involvement of the United States? May we know if there is such a policy na bawal mag-participate ang Amerika sa paghuli ng international terrorists?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, honorable members of the Senate. Sir, I would like to ask permission to read a general statement on our international cooperation policy, and I will, in the course of that statement, address questions regarding our cooperation with the United States.
With the permission of Senator Sotto, yes, you may proceed, Your Secretary.
Thank you very much. Please allow me to begin by extending the sincere regrets of the Secretary of Foreign Affairs for being unable to appear this morning as he is chairing our bilateral meeting with the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of the Slovak Republic, who is in Manila as the guest of the Philippine government. He has also instructed me to convey, on behalf of the Department of Foreign Affairs, our sincere condolences to the families of the heroes of the PNP Special Action Force. May they find comfort in the knowledge that these valiant men perished protecting the Filipino people from the scourge of terrorism. Indeed, terrorism has touched the lives of people from all parts of the world. While previously associated with conflict-afflicted areas, it has now spread globally. We in the Philippines have not been spared. The fight against terrorism as such must be a cooperative effort among all responsible nations. We are therefore engaging other nations in addressing this threat to the security of our peoples. In the United Nations, the Philippines has supported UN Security Council resolutions 1269, 1368, and 1373, which call on all states to cooperate through bilateral and multilateral agreements and arrangements to prevent and suppress terrorist acts, protect their nationals and other persons against terrorist attacks, and bring to justice the perpetrators of such acts. In ASEAN, we adopted the ASEAN Convention on Counterterrorism during the Philippine chairmanship in 2007. In addition, counterterrorism is a major agenda item on other important regional mechanisms such as the ARF, the EAS, the ADMM, and the ADMM+. This year, the Philippines assumed the chairmanship of APEC, as well as the APEC Counterterrorism Working Group. Furthermore, the Philippines has developed bilateral agreements and cooperation in transnational crime, counterterrorism, law enforcement, and mutual legal assistance, which together enhance our framework for international counterterrorism cooperation. For example, we have agreements with New Zealand, China, and Thailand. Our PNP has an MOU with the NYPD and with the Australian Federal Police. All of this serves as a framework for international cooperation to counter, prevent, and suppress terrorism, and to enhance the role of our region in the global strategy on counterterrorism. May I add at this juncture that counterterrorism is also a major agenda item in many of our bilateral discussions, such as that will be forthcoming with the President of France. We have been closely engaged with the U.S. to strengthen our domestic counter-terror capabilities. In 2002, because of the presence of Islamist terrorist networks, the Philippines was declared as a frontline state in the global war on terrorism. In 2003, the United States designated the Philippines as a major non-NATO ally. This designation opened the doors for increased U.S. assistance in our fight against terrorism, including eligibility for joint counterterrorism projects, as well as the purchase of excess defense articles. Within the ASEAN-US framework, there is also the 2002 Joint ASEAN-US Joint Declaration for Cooperation to Combat International Terrorism and the 2006 Joint Vision Statement of the ASEAN-US Enhanced Partnership. All counterterrorism exercises undertaken within Philippine territory require Philippine consent and approval through the Philippine-US Security Engagement Board. The SEB was established to provide a mechanism for liaison and consultation on non-traditional security concerns including terrorism, transnational crimes, maritime security and safety, natural and man-made disasters. These activities are undertaken under the ambit of the Visiting Forces Agreement, or VFA, and the legality of these activities have been upheld by the Supreme Court in the 2002 case of Lim versus Executive Secretary. The Philippines has been working with the U.S. in military intelligence training, intelligence operations, casualty evacuation and care, and humanitarian and development assistance. These cooperative activities with their bilateral and regional partners have helped to significantly reduce, for example, the size of the Abu Sayyaf group in the Philippines. On the alleged American participation operations at Mamasapano, we respectfully defer to our colleagues for operational details. However, in our own discussions with the United States authorities, we have ascertained from our own discussions that the plan and the execution of the operation were 100% Filipino. The aforementioned Security Engagement Board that I earlier alluded to provides the framework for cooperation on non-traditional security issues, including counterterrorism. Every year, the Mutual Defense Board and the Security Engagement Board meet to agree on a set of joint activities under the legal framework of the MDT and VFA. Philippine security agencies such as the PNP and the Philippine Coast Guard have benefited from activities like training, intelligence, exchange, and so forth. The U.S. Office of Anti-Terrorism Assistance administers the Anti-Terrorism Assistance Program. The ATA program trains civilian security and law enforcement personnel from friendly governments in police procedures that deal with terrorism. The U.S. works with the host country's government and a team from that country's U.S. mission to develop the most effective means of training for bomb detection, crime scene investigation, airport and building security, maritime protections, and VIP protection. Cooperation with the ATA also seeks to build capacities, including in responding to and resolving terrorist incidents. The only constitutionally restricted activity in our cooperation with the U.S. under our existing agreements is that they may not and have not, in the case of Mamasapano either, engage in combat operations. May I
Therefore, if it's just participation, monitoring, planning, there is nothing wrong.
Sir, it is...
Oh, no, not planning. Operations and planning.
That is nothing. There's nothing wrong with that, sir. It's within the ambit of our bilateral agreement. It does not violate the Constitution.
Monitoring, there's nothing wrong.
If that leads to exchange of information for intelligence purposes.
Why are we keeping it? Well, it sounds like we're keeping it like a secret. Wala namang diferensya po pala. Wala namang masama. So why are some sectors making an issue out of it? What do you think, Yusek Garcia?
Sir, I'm not able to speculate. I will say, however, this is an open session. I have described what the prescribed activities can be. Beyond this, these are operational details which the DFA does not work on. May I, sir, reiterate, under the SEB, the traditional non-security concerns, including transnational crimes, the U.S. and the Philippines work together to enhance Philippine Security Force core competency for information operations and enhance AFP, PNP capability in support of national counterterrorism, including intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. So, sir, everything that has taken place within the ambit of our existing agreements, sir. I can only surmise that any comments that are coming from elsewhere are not properly informed.
All right, thank you. Bottom line, we have a mutual defense treaty, we have other agreements, and we are in partnership as far as the anti-terrorism or counter-terrorism is concerned, right?
Yes, sir, that is accurate.
All right, thank you. Now, let me move on, Madam Chair, to the ILG Secretary, the ND Secretary, the Chief of the Philippine National Police. During the last hearing, I just want to clarify this. You said, more or less, the three of you were saying that you did not think that the encounter was that huge or that big. Kaya you did not need to discuss it with the President during the time that you were with him from 7 o'clock in the morning, from the flight up to Zamboanga until in the afternoon. The point bugging me is that in those statements was that there was an encounter. You knew there was an encounter. There was a report to you that there was an encounter, and you thought it was not that big. Am I right to remember that way, Secretary Roxas and Secretary Gasmini?
Sir, if I may clarify your characterization. No? Not knowing that there was an operation, that papasukin natin yung lugar na yon, then my understanding was it was an isolated
encounter,
incident, skirmish encounter.
All right. That's
nonetheless,
the same with Secretary Gasmin. Is that the same?
I also, nonetheless, as I said in the last hearing, I reconstructed my text messages, and because it involved Marwan, I forwarded the information that I had received to the President at 8 o'clock. Which information said that extraction was ongoing, which also contributed to the sense that it was disengaging. Extraction nga is ongoing. So, I just want to stress, Madam Chair, Your Honor, hindi ako naguhugas ng kamay dito, but ang point is, itong impormasyon na ito, hindi ko ma-connect sa bigger, na 300 pala, mahigit 390 ang nandun sa area na yun. Dahil hindi nga kami sinabihan na merong ang ganong operation. Mr. Chair.
Ang dating kasi sa akin, Madam Chair, is that naiintindihan ko na baka usual may mga encounter na ganyan na nangyayari pagka ni-report sa inyo. Yes, meron namang tumatalakay doon, meron namang uma-address ng problema niya. But my point is that there was a ceasefire. Hindi po ba? Nasa ceasefire nun Supposed to be may ceasefire So pag mayroong nangyaring ganyan, is that common in a ceasefire? Anyone from the peace panel can answer that. Or you may do so, volunteer any information, Secretary Gasmin, General Espina, Secretary Ross. May ceasefire So hindi common na magkaroon ng encounter, hindi po ba? Or, am I wrong? Common na may encounter pa rin kahit may ceasefire na.
Your Honor, the last breakdown of the ceasefire was in Albarca in 2011. So it is very uncommon that we have direct hostility between the government and the MLF.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, Mr. Senator,
yes,
if I may
Secretary
just...
Ross.
Ma'am, you're being very narrow. No? Because, yes, between MI organized and the government, that may have been the last recorded encounter. But in that area, between BI, meaning non-participants in the ceasefire, there are... So please clarify that. No? Sinasabi lang po ninyo is, since 2011, between MI organized and the government. But there are PAGs, there's BIFF, in that area, na nagkakaroon ng putukan in the interim.
Yes, Secretary, because we do not have a ceasefire with the other groups.